So Ellen Page has had to switch, so they're going with the Shaman here in Game 2. Whiskey Badger deciding to stick with the Warlock again. The Warlock performed pretty well, just like I said, when the Secret Paladin gets that kind of curve, it's really just insane. So he feels pretty confident that he can do a little bit better in this round. It looks like Ellen Page has more of the aggro shaman lineup and has a really just awesome curve. Again, Whiskey Badger, not a terrible curve in his own right. But Ellen Page has a couple options here. He could have lightning bolted the Flame Imp just to prevent it from getting value on the Tunnel Trog next turn, but they valued establishing the Tunnel Trog, or not the Tunnel Trog, the Totem Golem, just a little bit more, get the better board presence going forward. So Whiskey Badger has the Knife Juggler. So good curve, again, like I said, in his own right, but when both players have good curves, it's just going to depend on who can fight for the board a little bit more aggressively in the beginning. And so far, it's been Ellen Page with those taking advantage of the overload benefit on some of those minions. Ooh, but Whiskey Badger rolls a 4, so they're definitely not out of it. That was huge for this match. If he doesn't roll a 4 there, this could be a completely different match. So that's going to slow down 3 damage coming at his face. And he gets an extra minion on the board. Extra 1 or 2 minions on the board. So that was really huge for Whiskey Badger. It could really make the difference in this game. So remember that as we go forward, if he's able to stabilize, it was due largely in part to that 4 on the implosion there. Ellen Page still has some really good answers. Not exactly fizzling out. Has some strong minions they can play, and I'm assuming he's just going to keep going to the face. Already has the Warlock down to 14. Feels pretty confident that it's Zoo, so probably not too afraid of Reno Jackson or too many heals. Usually not a whole lot of heals ran in Handlock. Alright, in Zoolock rather. They are ran in Handlock, like the Earthen Ring Farseer and Reno Jackson, as I talked about earlier. Whiskey Badger does have the Mal'Ganis if he can survive till turn 9, but that's looking like no small feat. He can set up the Knife Juggler and the Defender of Argus, or the other 2 drop, which being the Iron Beak Owl along with the Defender of Argus, to kind of slow down the pressure from Ellen Page. But we haven't seen a whole lot of spells yet, so Shaman has a lot of burst spells that they can just throw over the top of those taunts. But you got to either clear the board or get in the way, so I'm assuming that's the path that Whiskey Badger is going to take here. He's just deciding which ones he wants to taunt up. He's going to make that clean trade there since buffing it did not prevent it from dying anyway. So he's just going to taunt the 2 that can live and clear the board as best as he can, leaving just the minion that cannot attack, so it makes sense. An Earthshock here could come in huge if Ellen Page is able to pick up like a Doomhammer or something of that nature. Looks like they are going to go ahead and use the Rockbiter now to just clear off that taunt right away. Might even use the Earthshock, so they're going to get rid of that taunt right away. Takes the taunts out of the equation. Oh, and with the spell power, was able to kill off that juggler. So I didn't notice that quite at first, but yeah, definitely with the spell power, super strong play there. So now Ellen Page just got a little bit of that burst, but if they don't start drawing into more of it soon, the board from Whiskey Badger is getting very strong with the help of that Dr. Boom, and Ellen Page is at 20 now, but if they aren't able to kill Whiskey Badger over maybe 2 turns, they're going to be in a lot of trouble, especially with Whiskey Badger able to drop down the Mal'Ganis next turn. And I don't think there's a card that he can play that will deal 8 damage. So there's a little bit more of the burst, but it's not going to be enough to come back. So Whiskey Badger able to stave off the early pressure from Ellen Page, and Ellen Page kind of fizzled out, wasn't able to draw those big damage spells that you're hoping to get when you get to this stage of the game. So with that said, Whiskey Badger going to go ahead and take game 2 with his Warlock. So the Warlock able to redeem itself just a tad. And now we'll see what they decide to go with in game